Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balava Girivanadari. Gopijana Balava Girivanadari. Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana. Jamuni Siravanatari. Jamuni Siravanatari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balava Girivanadari. Yasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana. Jamuni Siravanatari. Siravanatari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Whoa! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Bo! Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariva Jakacharya Satashisham. His Divine Grace Abhaichara and Bhakti Vedanta Sai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BPT Founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Nam Char Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Goho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadada Shiva Sari Goa Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavandam Ki, Mathuradam Ki, Dwarkadam Ki, Navadivdam Ki, Jagannapuram Ki, Chamunamai Ki, Gangamai Ki, Tulsi Maharani Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Samveda Bhakti Vindi Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Sri Siddhara Giridhari Ki, Sri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki, Gopremanandi, all glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to the Divine Lotus Sita Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. You may wonder where Balaram is. Balaram Prabhu is at our temple in Boise. Our temple in Boise, Idaho, which I love, is right next to Boise State University. And you know, there's UCLA, there's UCSD. It's BSU, which tells you all you need to know. But the point of we purchased that. It's a nice little it's 2 duplexes, so 4 apartments, and then they've built the temple in the middle, temple and a prasadam hall. And then they bought the lot next door, and they've got a nice little cultural hall, and it's a nice setup. It's a very nice setup. And the university has grown around them, so it's just fantastic. The temple president who got all of that done, Ananta Rupa Prabhu, has, he's about 75, 77 years old, and he's retired. He's got severe arthritis, and he's retired to Jaipur. So they have a new crew that's taken over of all young devotees. And they're smart and nice, but they're a little bit shy. So we've been pushing them. You got to, start a Krishna lunch, start a Krishna lounge, and they've just been too shy to figure out how to do it. So Balaram Prabhu has gone up there to help them get their Krishna lounge started, because they're just surrounded by young students. And then Amoga Leela Prabhu is going to join them with a couple other devotees and help them with their first night, their second night, and help the thing get rolling. Dimitri and Amoga, there we go. So it's some assistance from the San Diego temple to help that temple develop. And then we're going to do the same thing in Hawaii, where they have a new administration, and they have a great group of young devotees, and Mother Kusha has helped them along, and then we're going to get it going there too. So he's not just frolicking, somewhere eating samosas. He's actually working hard for Krishna. Well, if you live by the beach, it doesn't make much. Hawaii's not the big deal next to, if you're from Omaha or something, then it's, oh. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And I want to say one other thing, and I will. it's a little bit of an inconvenience. Balaram's not here for nice kirtan and classes. Dimitri's not, So it's a little bit of, Amoga's out traveling, We all miss them, It's nice to have a vibrant, But the LA temple, Prabhupada always had them send out devotees. They would make devotees, they'd train them up, and they'd send them out. The San Diego temple, the Laguna temple, the Denver temple, the Portland temple, the Tucson temple, the Phoenix temple, the Dallas temple. I'm probably forgetting one or two. They were all started by devotees sent out from the LA temple. And Prabhupada said, if you give in charity, Krishna will reciprocate. So don't worry, but this is, if water flows, it stays fresh. You leave it in one place, it gets stagnant. So it's nice. We should make as many devotees as possible, train them up, and send them out. We're also, by Krishna's grace, we'll have to see how it goes, the San Francisco temple. We have a preaching center there. You saw Navina Narada were down here, and Ananta Chaitanya Prabhu was down here. And but they don't have any facility. They just have a storefront, and they have nice people, but they can't help them take the next step. So what we're going to do is set up a 6-month and 1-year training courses where people can come here in San Diego. So they'll send people here to train, and they're looking for that. Okay, 6-month commitment, 1 year. They have to make at least a 6-month commitment. And we'll train them up, and then we'll send them back. So this way things will be flowing nicely by Krishna's grace. We'll have to see how it goes. And we'll get them out on Sankirtan. Okay. Krishna Svadamo Bhagate Dhamarganadi Bisaha Kalaunasa Dashomesha Parano Ko Nadodata Narayana Namaskritchananam Chaibam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. Bhagavatam is burned as a sun. Is it risen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who've lost their vision to the dense darkness of the age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of Godhead Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess of learning Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. All righty. Ekadasasan. Oh, that would make a difference, wouldn't it? I was wondering why you guys weren't too enthusiastic. All right. Britvyam enam tad adabra viryam upekshayadetitam apramata guru haresh charanopasanastro jahi vyalikam svayam atma mosam Bhatrivyam enam taradabraviryam upekshayadetitam apramattaha Gurorarescharanopasanastro Jahi vyalikam swayam atmamosham Bhatrivyam enam taradabraviryam upekshayadetitam apramatta Gurorarescharanopasanastro Jahi vyalikam swayam atmamosham Bhatrivyam enam taradabraviryam upekshayadetitam apramattaha Gurorarescharanopasanastro Jahi Vyalikam Swayam Atmamosham. Anyone else want to take a try at it? All right. I have no idea what you said. Something about Zoom and they should chant? All right, we have one Zoom volunteer.
Bhratrubhyamenam tadabravya virya mupekshaya deditama pramattaha Guru Harescharanopasanastro Jahi Vyalikam Swayamatmamosham.
I think that's Dhanavari Mataji. Nice job. Okay. Bhratrivyam, the formidable enemy. We're in a death struggle, trust me, with the mind. In this corner, the 2-ton gorilla, the mind. And in this corner, the little jiva. And the mind has been winning for lifetimes. What to do? Inam, this mind. Tat, that. Adabra, viryam, very, very powerful. Upekshaya, by neglecting. Adeditam, unnecessarily increased in power. Apramata, one who is without illusion. Guru, of the spiritual master. Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Charana, of the lotus feet. Upasana astra, applying the weapon of worship. Jahi, conquer. Vyalikam, false. Swayam, personally. Atmamosham, which covers the constitutional position of the living entity. Translation. Now this is the Jad Bharat. He's giving, this is the summation of the chapter. So he's putting it in a very bottom line sutra form. This is it. Hey, focus, Maharaj Rahugana. This is it. All right. That's what we're doing here. The uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and it will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. Also you say, This uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and become victorious. Although it's not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O King, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. Prabhupada's purport. There is one easy weapon with which the mind can be conquered. Anyone know what it is? Neglect. If you have an unwanted guest in your house, what is the Bengali saying? How do you get rid of them? Unwanted guest? You throw them out, call the police. Just don't feed them. It's the ultimate passive aggression. Just don't feed them. They'll go. Some faster than others, but they'll go. The mind is always telling us, do this or do that. Therefore, we should be very expert at disobeying the mind's orders. Gradually, the mind should be trained to obey the orders of the soul. Instead of having the tail wagging the dog, we should be directing the mind, not the mind's directing us. They get the whole thing backwards. It is not that one should obey the orders of the mind. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that to control the mind, one should beat it with shoes many times just after awakening, and again just before going to sleep. He said sometimes you beat it with the shoes in the morning and then a broomstick in the evening, if you want a little variety. Okay. In this way, one can control the mind. This is the instruction of all the Shastras. If one does not do so, one is doomed to follow the dictations of the mind. Another bona fide process is to abide strictly by the orders of the spiritual master and engage in the Lord's service. Then the mind will automatically be automatically controlled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Srila Rupa Goswami, Brahmananda Brahmate Konabhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Latta Bija. When one receives the seed of devotional service by the mercy of the Guru and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's real life begins. If one abides by the orders of the spiritual master, by the grace of Krishna, he is freed from service to the mind. Thus in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 11th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Jad Bharat instructs King Rahugana. Om Ganata Madandasya Gyana Gana Salakaya Jakshushamadatangena. Tasmade Shri Gurave Namaha. It'd be nice to actually have the book, because this way I have to toggle back between two screens. Somebody's young and at it. Hey, there you go, Tyler. Thank you. The Bhagavatam, as we've said multiple times, is both descriptive and prescriptive. Thanks a lot, Prabhu. And why? Thanks. And why does that? What does that mean? You know, when you're at of course nobody goes nowadays, but when you go to a mall or anywhere, and you don't know what's up here, it'll show you are here, right? And you can think, okay, here's where I'm standing. Is that sufficient? Is it sufficient? Suppose you're, I don't know what, bought a new pair of Sankirtan shoes, whatever it is. Okay, here's where I am. Is that sufficient to get me to the store I need? I hope. Anyway, good luck, my friends. You need to know where you're going and how to get there. You need to say, oh, okay, if I do here and I go here and turn left and dodge the Starbucks and zip in there, okay, I got it, you know? So we need to know where we are. Although, if you just look at the thing and you don't know where you are, what good is that going to do you? you know? So you have to, so the Bhagavatam explains, here's what's up. And here we get, Rahugana Maharaj is hearing from, the problem is the mind. And you're jumping through hoops for all this dictation. All right, because this verse, there's two parts. Okay, here's what the problem is. That's the description. But what to do about it? How do I practically deal with it? It's not enough just to describe. There was a BTG, Back to Godhead magazine, when I was first coming to the temple, so 1969. And on the back cover, it had, in black and white, all these different personalities, pictures of them. And it was both modern and, you know, it was whoever it was, Socrates and Camus and, you know, whoever it was, you know, the different, Bob Dylan, and they had them all, Baba Ram, they had them all tossed in there, you know. Both past and Voltaire, they were all there, right? And the interesting thing, it caught my eye, I remember it. It said, all these people know the problems. And it's true, there's deep analysis. You know, even country western songs, looking for love in all the wrong places. Okay, well, where's the right place, you know? And then in the middle was a colored, blissful picture of Prabhupada. It said, but only this man knows the answers. So, okay, this verse is talking about what's the problem, and then it's going to talk about what to do about it. Now, we'll get there in a second. Hopefully I won't forget. There's something called Stockholm Syndrome. When you're taken hostage, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens sometimes, especially when it's a prolonged hostage situation. Anyone know what Stockholm Syndrome is? Dravida Prabhu.
Yes, I started identifying with your captors.
You identify with your captor, and you actually sometimes try to facilitate. The famous is that Patty Hearst, who actually helped them rob banks and, you know, got completely into the thing. Because, you know, you're in a very, the way it works, in simple term, is that you're in a very, you're completely freaked. You're in a very dangerous situation. They could kill you at any minute. You know, you don't know you're going to live or you're going to die. And they treat you a little bit nicely. They give you a little crust of bread. They give you a little salt to go with your bread. And they let you go on, you know, okay, we'll let you, you know, untie you and let you walk around in the backyard. And you start feeling that compassion, that they're being nice to you and their friendship and your bond. It's a whole tweak. And that's what's happening with the mind. We think, oh, the mind wants this, the mind wants that, and you know, we cater to it, and you get a little pinch. I've got a scratch and I itch it. Oh, that was a relief. So it's all stimulus response. And we're identifying. We think, oh, I need to do what the mind wants. And that satisfaction of the mind, it's really just negative to zero. What is it? Manasavega, Krodavega, Kamavega, all the different pushing factors. You always love that Vega, because if you go to Las Vegas, all the Vegas are completely full bore. It's a great example. But the point is that and we're thinking that relief, that for the moment it gets off my back. What happens if you cooperate with bullies? What do bullies do? They push you and you become intimidated by it. And if you cooperate with a bully, if you empower a bully, what happens? Does that bully say thank you very much and walk away? Hey, you're not a bad guy. I'll leave you alone. Is that what happens with bullies? Yeah, they become emboldened. They become empowered. And that natural dynamic of two equals, the more you empower the bully, the more the bully exploits you, the more you become, oh, you know, just don't take my lunch money, don't punch me, or whatever it is. And the mind is like that. It's a bully. And it's got the upper hand of us. It's, if you don't do this, if you don't smoke a cigarette, you're going to die. No, you're going to die if you smoke a cigarette. You see them. I mean, I don't mean to pick on anybody, but when it's free. Now, he doesn't get cold here in San Diego, but you're traveling, and they're standing outside. It's freezing cold. They'd much rather be inside, but just to get that little puff, people lose their life. I remember. Of course, it has a little bit of a happy ending. I was with Radnabhushana, and we were downtown L.A., and we were buying used restaurant equipment. You clean it up and, whatever, sinks and whatever it was, right? So it's in Skid Row. It's usually restaurant, supply. Usually they're in pretty crummy. I don't know, the rent's cheap, who knows. But there was literally a drunk on the street with his, pants on backwards and just gone, And Ratnabhushan and I walk by, and the drunk says, "I say, Prabhu, do you have a mite of prasadam?" The guy was obviously educated, was almost Shakespearean the way he presented, And then luckily he knew the devotees from somewhere. And Ratnabhushan had, Ratnabhushan is a great baker. So we had some muffins. So we gave the guy 2 muffins. So he did get some prasadam out of the thing. But, I talked to him. It turns out he was a professor. He'd been a professor in English literature at the University of Maryland. And he'd come to this. He was, Gallo wine was his best friend. So he'd lost everything. Except for his taste for prasadam, and that was his success, But we are being bullied and badgered by the mind to the point that we think if the mind just gives us a break, just, give me a... If you're ever giving a public talk, it doesn't matter, university, old folks home, whatever it is, talk about stress and peace of mind as a lead-in. Oh, they're all interested. Because everybody's completely... And Prabhupada said, on one hand, I saw a bumper sticker that said, if you're not paranoid, you haven't been paying attention. And there's like somebody who parks their car over here when it says existence is pain. Have you seen that bumper sticker? Yeah, in the parking lot right here. I want to find out who it is. Existence is pain. So on one hand, to not be stressed, to be, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Well, that's not too bright. So on one hand, you should be distressed. But the temporary relief from it's always changing. The different, like you can take 3 colors. 3 into 3 is 9, 9 into 9 is 81, and thus it goes. So by the combination of the 3 modes of nature, and to double down on it by the 3 miseries, miseries caused by other living entities, misery caused by the mind, miseries caused by the body. It's always shifting and changing. Like from those 3 colors, red, blue, and yellow, with 3 modes of nature, from those 3 colors, you can make all the colors in the rainbow. And it's always shifting. So the material nature is always creating new pictures. It's the same... Prabhupada's famous story, and I'll tell it. What's the time? Oh, geez. Because I wanted to get... Anyway, just to finish. There was a lusty man who had a very nice wife, devout wife. And she was faithful because that was her destiny and duty. And one day, he became very morose. And he had the blues, and it stayed for some time. So she asked him, what's the issue? And he was so shameless, the way Prabhupada tells it, he actually told his wife, "Oh, I saw this beautiful courtesan, a high-class prostitute, but I have no money. I'd like to go see her." And the wife, they had no money. They were very poor, obviously. And so the wife began serving the prostitute. The prostitute came home. She had a nice You know, it's a growth industry. So she had a nice house and a garden, and she would clean the house, she would cook, she would come and do the laundry, whatever. So the prostitute noticed and said, "Why are you doing this?" And the woman said, "What can I do? My husband's so morose, and he's just dreaming of you, and he can't function, and so I'm hoping you'll help me." So the prostitute said, "Your husband is a fool. The husband's a fool, but I'll do it for you." So she said, "Send him to me, such and such a date." So he showed up on the appointed date, box of candy and flowers. What is it? Candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. That's from the Navy. What are the arts of seducing? And, okay, let's have at it. And the prostitute said, no, there's an art to these things. Let's eat. So they're sitting there, and the first preparation comes, whatever it was, same prep. It's in 3 bowls, 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 iron. Next prep comes, next course comes, and again, same course, it's in 3 bowls, gold, silver, and iron. And so it goes. The dessert comes, 3 bowls. Same dessert, 3 different bowls, gold, silver, and iron. So they finished. She said, "All right, now it's time for our business." And then the man said, "Okay, great, fantastic, but I just have one question. Why each course the same prep in 3 different dishes?" And the prostitute said, "You're a fool, go home." Anyone know the purport? That it's the same business, whether you're a dog or a hog or you're doing on the Park Avenue or you're doing in the park. It's the same thing. It's just packaged a little differently. So she was saying, you've got a nice, good wife at home. What are you doing? But we are like that. It comes a little differently. It's the same thing. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Stress and relief. But it's a little package. It's coming at us from a different angle. It's a different flavor. Prabhupada said, you take a crystal or a jewel, you turn it to the light, it has different facets, catch the light in a different way. And material nature is like that. So, and there comes a point when it has to say, enough. How long am I going to dance to the same tune? It's not, I love this line. I have yet to have a chance to try it out on a college student. But Vijay's, how you doing? I'm good. Take a look. Nah, I'm good. And what is your reply? Could be better. So the fact of the matter is, we could be better. That's not what we're meant for. What is it in the end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, instructions to Sanatana Goswami, that the analogy is there that your father has left you a very valuable inheritance, but he died at a distant place, so you don't know how to get it. And then there's a whole description how to get it. So we have the potential of the self. We are meant to be, what is it? Satchidananda Vigraha. That's our, why are we looking for it? You can't, why are we able to imagine a mountain of gold? Mountain of gold. Okay, you got a picture in your mind. Why are you able to, anyone here ever seen a mountain of gold? If so, let me know. We'll get it for the BBT. You ever seen a mountain of gold, Ram? Why are you able to imagine in your mind something that's fictitious, a mountain of gold? Exactly so. You've seen a mountain and you've seen gold. The point I'm trying to make is that why do we have this craving for unlimited happiness, undisturbed, uninterrupted? Why do we have a desire for everlasting love? Why are people looking for their soulmate? Why? Because it's, all right, David, why?
Because that's our original position. We lost it.
Because the impression, the experience is there. It's not just wishful thinking and a dream. Just like you've seen gold, you've seen a mountain, therefore you can combine them. So it is the nature of the self. Now, we're running out of time. So that's where we should be, where we are right now. It's never going to change. It's the same thing. All right, so then what in the world do we do about it? If you're David and Goliath, it's a good example. You know the story, David and Goliath? Goliath was the giant, and David was whatever, you know. And, normal size. So, if you had to bet on David and Goliath, who would you bet on? You would bet on Goliath. Big giant, health, he can outrun you, he can whatever, he can outreach you, everything. No, he can just fall on you and you're finished. Okay, but David won. What helped that little David conquer big Goliath? Huh? No, it wasn't intelligence. Well, okay, but he had a weapon. Just like this verse talks about the weapon. If you look, people think, well, it's always been like this. I've always been stuck in the, that's just the way, what is it that that's just the way it is. And you just go with the flow of life. You get some happiness, you get some distress. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. That's just life, and hate. So and even in Krishna consciousness, we may feel that, geez, how will I ever do it? I'm so conditioned. I've been struggling for But the secret of David and Goliath is that David had a weapon. He had that sling, right? And whack, help Goliath see the light, literally. So here, in the end of this chapter, of course, the conversation goes on, but the summary of the instructions to Vajrahugana, he's explained, you're being badgered and bullied and controlled by your mind, and you're chasing after the ephemeral mind's transformation that are never going to satisfy you. It's Prabhupada's classic example. What is something that looks great and one chases after it? From the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada uses the example. You find it all over the Bhagavatam. A mirage. An example of a mirage? I guess the way the heat waves come up and the light refracts through it and it looks like water. There's usually not a palm tree and a beautiful girl there. They add that in the cartoons. But you chase after it. Deer chase. Animals in the desert will think there's a mirage and keep running after it. But what is the phenomenon of a mirage? Further you go, because it's the distance and the heat waves and the light refractions, so it's always got to be the same distance. So the more you chase after, it's a little one more step, until you drop dead and go through it all over again. So you need a weapon. We need a weapon, and here the weapon is described. It's two things. Two components of this weapon. Any know from this verse what are those two components? Ram. The instructions of the spiritual master and service to Krishna. Those are the two things. Instructions from the spiritual master. Why? Because whose dictation are we taking now? We are the faithful disciple through thick and thin of who? Mine Maharaj. Ki jai. So we're faithfully, But what does the mind? And the mind's always changing. Suppose somebody says, sit there. As soon as you sit down, they pull the mat out from you and say, oh, no, sit over there. So you go say, no, and they pull the chair. You can't ever sit down. And they're saying, no, it's just over here. Nah, just do it this way. No. So the instructions of the spiritual master, here's what to do. Here's how to control the mind. Here's how to control the senses. Here's what you should be doing. Here's what you should be chasing after. Pure love of Krishna and all the different flavors of devotional service. So that's the one thing. Instruction. I'll leave you with this picture. If you're ever driving in the snow, we used to, I was trapped for 7 years in Michigan. Nice in the summer, nice in the spring. Fall's not bad. Winter is just, it's where they send the Eskimos for training, just. And we would drive home from Sankatan. It would be late at night, especially on the weekends. And in a heavy snowstorm, you're on the freeway, it starts to snow, and it's snowing. You're going 60 miles an hour. You can't see where to pull off. Imagine this situation, because it's true. I've been there a number of times. You can't see which way to pull over, because you can't see the edge of the road. You don't even know where, you may pull right into another car. You may pull off a cliff. Who knows where you're going to pull off? So you can't pull off. And you can't stop and wait for the snow. If you get stopped, you're going to get hit by somebody else going 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. So what to do? Can't see left, can't see right, can't stop, can't go forward. And you're on a freeway. We have any Michiganders here? You get behind a big truck. You get behind a big truck and you just follow the truck's lights. Because the truck is up high. It's heavy, so it's not going to get, slide in the slush. And it's up high. You can see in the future. You can see forward. And that's all you can do. You just stay behind that truck for hell or high water, And eventually the snow settles or, whatever. You can see to a place to get off. But you just stick behind that. That's it. So in the same way, we are completely bewildered. We're the tiny jiva. What do we know about anything? Well, I think. I think. As far as I know. Prabhupada says, how far do you know? That's the question. Or the man says, we're making progress. Prabhupada said, your progress is like a moth into the flames. Yeah, you're moving, but in what direction? And what's the result? So in that same fashion, we just neglect the instructions of the mind. And instead, because nature abhors a vacuum, you can't have a vacuum. You can't just be mindless, inert. You just insert the instructions of the spiritual master. Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. You just insert those. And what will my happiness be? Lo and behold, the happiness of serving Krishna. You go to Hawaii, and what do they give you, a plastic lei? I think they're plastic now. They used to be real flowers. Somebody was telling me now they get plastic ones, But I got it. But you take real flowers, and you make a garland, and you give it to Krishna, and what happens? It's amazing how you feel happy. Krishna's dressed beautifully. We're dressed very simply. And we're happy looking at, I'm not thinking, well, geez, wish I had a garland like that. How would I look in green? Or, forget it, I'm pretty happy with saffron. So the simple point I'm making is that the spiritual master gives the clear instructions and gives the Bhakti Lata Bij. Anyway, we'll talk about that next Sunday, what happens then. But we should end there. I am way over time. But armed with yoga, stand and fight. Stand and fight with the instructions of the spiritual master and service to Krishna. And we will conquer the Goliath of the mind. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.